Good evening, everyone. This week's Parsha is Parshas Vayeshev, Tavshin Pei Aleph. Okay, so Parsha Vayeshev has the famous and very complicated story of Yosef and his brothers. How Yosef and his brothers clearly were at odds with each other, and eventually they tried to kill him and eventually they sold him. And when we read this Parsha, and we read this story, we tend to explain it on a very basic and on a very surface level. You know, you read it, story of jealousy, and they were so jealous they tried to kill him. They said not to kill him, they'll sell him, and that's what happened. I'd like to share with you from the commentary of Sefarnu. Rabbi Ovadia Sefarnu was a Rishon from the early commentators, like from the period of, later than Rashi, but from that period of Jewish leaders, known as the Rishonim, the early authorities. And I want to share with you how he approaches this. And it's going to give us a very different understanding of what took place here. It's not an easy thing to grasp. It's not an easier thing to completely get our heads around. But it's still very important for us to see how the early commentators understood that we're not dealing here just with simple, jealous people. We're dealing with people who who fell short of where they should be. But as you see the way the Sefarnu is going to explain, there was basis for what happened, and even what happened is not to be taken as literal as simple as we would make it. So let's start from the beginning of the Parsha, where the Parsha begins, Vayeshev Yaakov Eretz Migrei Aviv Eretz Canaan. Yaakov lived in the land of the sojournings of his father, the land of Canaan. Eilo Toldos Yaakov. These are, the Sefarnu translates Toldos here as not generations as children, but these are the events of Yaakov's life. Yosef ben Shvei Esresh ben Shvasrei Shana. Yosef at the age of 17. Hayeroeh esachav batzon. Now, this is typically translated as he was shepherding with his brothers in the sheep. The Sefarnu explains it differently, and I believe he's explaining it differently because the wording literally is, Hayeroeh esachav means he was shepherding his brothers. What does that mean? Says the Sefarnu, what that means is like this. Clearly, they were all shepherding and working in the sheep. But Yosef shepherding his brothers in the sheep means that he was showing them what they should be doing. Yosef had a very good knack for taking care of the sheep, and he was showing his brothers what is the best way to do their job. Then the Torah says, V'hu nar, he was a lad. And from the commentary of Rashi and Sefarnu, V'hu nar, he's a lad, is a comment on its own. He was a young lad. We'll get back to that. Espenei Bilav, Espenei Zilpa Neshei Aviv. He was with the sons of Bilah and Zilpa, his father's wives. Vayavei Yosef is Ibas Amral Aviem. Yosef brought their bad report or bad tidings to their father. The Sefarnu says, what are these bad tidings? What was the bad report that Yosef was reporting to his father about his brothers? So the Sefarnu learns it in the context of what the Pasuk spoke about. The Pasuk told us that Yosef was shepherding his brothers. Yosef was showing his brothers how to take care of the sheep. When he was reporting to his father about them, he was reporting to his father about how they were neglecting their job, how they were neglecting the care for the sheep. Caring for the sheep, this was their source of income. This was a source of livelihood. And Yosef is reporting to their father how the other brothers are not doing the job properly. So Yosef, again, he's showing everybody how they should be doing the job. And when they're not doing it properly and therefore being negligent, he's reporting that to their father. Let's go back to those words, V'hu nar, he's a young lad. Says the Sefarnu, Umipnei na'arusei chata lahavi dibas achiv. The Torah is telling us because he was nar, because he was young, That is why he made the mistake of reporting on his brothers to their father. He wasn't thinking about the repercussions of what he was doing. Basically, it means that Yosef was lacking maturity. He was lacking experience, life experience. A more experienced person understands that not always do you say what has to be said, what could be said. An immature young person like Yosef, who again was very bright, very smart, very motivated, was the kind of person who was going to, if something is not going right, he's going to tell his father. Not a snitch, not necessarily to go ahead and put down the brothers, but basically, if they're not doing the job, they need to be reported to their father. In Yosef's mind, he was just doing what the situation called for. But his lack of experience in life, his lack of maturity, made him lack the understanding of what the repercussions of doing so could be. And he continues. Although Yosef was very smart, he was very intelligent, and it wouldn't take long before he was going to land up in Egypt and start giving advice and showing all the people in Egypt what to do. Nonetheless, because of his lack of experience, because of his youth, he did not see the ramifications of his actions. Our sages say you cannot find counsel amongst the youth, meaning youth can be very bright, very creative, very innovative, but you're not going to find counsel. Counsel means getting the kind of advice that is the advice with the full picture based on experience. That was Yosef. Very bright, very smart, very talented, but lacking experience in life. And therefore, he made this mistake of reporting on his brothers, which was the beginning of the animosity. And it's just very interesting, this whole concept that Sforno is focusing on. I think it's an important lesson for us nowadays to hear about the fact that, in society, we make a big thing about youth. And we push youth, that youth is going to be able to bring about the changes that need to be changed, because all us older people are all jaded and we're all biased and greedy, and the youth have that clarity of being able to bring out the truth, bring things to the forefront. They definitely have the energy to do that, but they don't have the experience. Something to keep in mind. Okay. Now, all right. Next pasuk says, "V'Yisrael lahavas Yosef mikol banav kivein zekunim eloi." Yisrael, another name for Yaakov, loved Yosef from all his brothers because he was a son of Zekunim. Now, this word that he was the son of Zekunim, the Sephardi does not focus on translating it. But I'm going to suggest that the Sephardi, as we're going to see soon, learned Kiben Zekunim means not so much he was the son of old age, as Rashi explains it, but more like the Onkelos explains. Onkelos says, he was a very wise son, like a zaken is someone who is a wise person. That the word zaken refers to someone who is knowledgeable, someone who's a scholar. Yaakov loved Yosef because he was a bar hakim. He was very, very wise. And he had a special love for him because of the fact that he was so wise. Then the Torah tells us, but also like saying this pasim made for him the special coat. Yosef's famous coat. Says the Sephardi, what was the point of this coat? The point of this coat was as a sign that Yosef is in charge of what goes out of the house and what goes out of the field. This was not some kind of a coat, just, you're a special kid, you get a special coat, more than the rest of your brothers. He was now being put in charge of everything. And as the Psukim said before, he was showing everybody how to take care of the sheep. Whether he should be reporting to his father or not, at the end of the day, his father probably saw that he knew what he was talking about. and therefore he put him in charge of everything. When you are put in charge of things, says the Seforno, we find sources that you wear a special garment to show that you're the one in charge. So the Ksonas Pasim, according to Seforno, was a very practical thing. It was the sign that he was in charge of running things. But the Torah does preface this by saying, and Yisrael loved him more than his other sons. There was something about, and he gave him the special coat. Even if the special coat had to do with a sign of leadership, but Yaakov's special love for him was the cause for this, or it was part of this. And let's look a little further, I think, to get a better to get the point of this. So then the pasuk says, right, after receiving the special coat, his brothers saw that their father loved him more than the other brothers, and they disliked it, they hated him for it. They could not speak with him peacefully. So it says the Seforno on these words that the brothers saw that their father loved him, and therefore they disliked him for that. The Seforno says, Yaakov made a mistake here. To single out one son over the others. In a manner, in a way that they should recognize, in a way that the brothers would recognize the love in his heart. Yaakov's mistake was that he singled out his son, one son over the other sons. Now, I understand these words when he says, Be'inyan sheyakiru, in a way that they would recognize that of this love that he had. I think what the Seforno here means to say is, again, I'll just read the words again. Yaakov made a mistake to single out one of his sons from the other sons. Be'inyan, in a way, in a manner that they recognize the love in his heart. The problem here was that when Yaakov gave Yosef this coat, it was clear that he did it because it was clear to them. Yaakov made a mistake here, but it was clear to them that this was a sign that Yaakov loved them more than he loved Yosef more than he loved them. Now, if the coat is a sign of leadership, does that mean that just because he made Yosef the leader, that's how they recognize the love? I think that Seforno means that the problem was not so much appointing him and being in charge, because if he's the most talented, he could be in charge, even if he's not the oldest brother. The problem is it was done in a way that it was clear that Yaakov's special love for Yosef as a very wise son was apparent here in what was done. And what I think that means is that if Yosef would have just been put in charge, Yaakov would have said to his other sons, Yosef's in charge. That wouldn't have been a problem. And even though a special coat is appropriate for the one who's a leader, in this case, it was clear it had to do with love. If it was all about just Yosef being in charge because he's the most capable of being that, fine. He doesn't need the coat. He doesn't have to have the coat. That can happen without the coat. The fact that Yaakov gave him the coat, that was a sign that it was more than just putting him in a position. It was out of the love that he had for his wisdom and his abilities, which was why he got the position. But this coat, giving him the coat, although the purpose of the coat was, again, because a person who's a leader has a special coat, to do that for the younger son, to go that far for the younger son, that made it clear to the sons that was happening because of their father's love, special love for him. And as the Seforno says, and it's based on the Gemara, the Talmud and Shabbos, that Yaakov made a mistake here. He made a mistake by making it clear, by doing something that now, as the Seforno says, the brothers would recognize that he had a special love for Yosef over them. And I would suggest that when Yaakov did this, I don't think Yaakov was oblivious. He was just out of touch. I don't think so. But I think Yaakov, as we're going to see later on, Yaakov thought that his sons could handle it. Yaakov knew his sons were all great people and that they would be, and he thought they'd be able to handle the fact that he has that special love for Yosef. That was his mistake. Okay. And then it says they couldn't speak peacefully with him. Doesn't say they didn't talk to him. They didn't speak peacefully. That means that they had to speak to him, says Sephora. If he's in charge, they have to speak to him. They didn't speak to him in a friendly manner as brothers would. So now they didn't talk. They didn't talk peacefully. They didn't talk they didn't talk to him in that kind of peaceful, friendly manner as brothers do. It doesn't say they fought. It doesn't say they screamed at him. They put him down. They quarreled with him. It doesn't say that. It says that they didn't speak with him in a friendly way, in a peaceful and friendly way as brothers would. Okay. Now, so far we have Yosef is reporting on his brothers. He's been given this special coat and position over the other brothers, and the brothers see that Yaakov has a special love for Yosef over them. Yosef had a dream, and he told it to his brothers. On these words, and he told his brothers, says the Sefornu, this was also a youthful act. He didn't have to tell his brothers. It was not the smart thing to do. Again, in Yosef's mind, in Yosef, you have to understand something here when there's a whole chapter in the Talmud in Brachas that talks about dreams. Nowadays, dreams by us is all the silly things that go through our minds. But dreams, at one point in life, for many people, for most people, were a certain level of a sign from heaven. And Yosef understood his dream as that. But he didn't have to tell it to his brothers. He felt, I had the dream, I have this revelation, there's a message there, I'm going to tell it to them. And they disliked him even more. Now, so there's another thing that Yosef goes wrong. He's telling them the dream. Now there's another step to it. And he said to them, listen now to this dream that I dreamt. What's the listen now? Why is he saying, listen now to this dream? What's he saying to them? Couldn't just walk over and say, I had a dream last night. Listen now to the dream, he says. Says the Sefornu. What he says means, wasn't enough to tell them the dream. He said to them, listen now, meaning, think about the meaning of this dream. He's telling his brothers, listen to this dream, listen to the message. And by doing that, he increased the brothers' animosity for him. As we're going to see what their reaction was. So he goes ahead, he tells them the dream, we're binding sheaves together, my sheaf stands up, erect, and all your sheaves bow down to my sheaf. Listen to that message. He's saying to them, listen to the message. Clearly he's telling them, look what the message says about me. So the brothers say to him, are you thinking of ruling over us? Are you thinking of controlling us? They had even greater animosity. They had even more animosity for him now. For his dreams and his words. Now, there is a problem here. It says they had greater animosity for him now for his dreams, plural. Yosef only had one dream now. Why does it have a plural form? We know he's going to have a second dream, but he didn't have it yet. It says the Sefornu that his dreams and his words means about the details of the dream. He said it over like someone that's hoping it's going to become fulfilled. He said it over with too much feeling. He told him the dream. Don't forget, he said, listen to the message here. And when he told them the details of the dream, he told those details in a way that he was showing that he was really expecting this. that was not going to engender friendship. And for his words, again, the words that he said, listen to the message. So things are not going well here. But let's understand, right? Things are not going well here. You have a young Yosef who is not dealing in a very wise way with his brothers. Okay, now. He had another dream. What's that dream? He says, behold, the sun and the moon and 11 stars were bowing down to me. This dream, sun and moon, includes his father. Then he told it to his father and his brothers. And his father scolded him. And he said, what kind of dream are you dreaming? Will I, your mother, and your brothers come and bow down to you? Okay. His brothers were jealous of him, and the father kept things in mind. Meaning, Yaakov scolded him in front of the brothers, but it seems like deep down he was also waiting to see or hoping for the fulfillment of this. Okay, now, here again, the Sephorno makes a comment. And that is that after telling it to his father and his brothers, it says, his brothers envied him. What's happening now more than before? What are they seeing here in this more than before? Before there was a dream that they think the dream is his fantasies about being a ruler over them. And this is just a repeat of that. So what more is happening that it says the brothers were jealous? Says the Sephorno that what happened, they were jealous. They thought that because of his stature by his father, he told this over to his father. Meaning, here is Yosef saying to his father, I have a dream that you're going to bow down to me. When they see how he has no qualms of saying this to his father, it's because of Ma'alase Etzelavim, because he has such a high standing by his father that therefore he has no problem speaking to his father like this. And to them, that's just another sign of what kind of standing he has by their father. He can talk to their father in a way and saying, I had a dream, you're going to bow down to me. And he has no qualms about it. That can only happen because of the stature that he has by his father, that he could even dream of talking like that to his father. So that again engendered the envy. It engendered the idea that Yosef has this very, very special place by their father. Okay, so this is the setup. Where we have, Yosef is telling them, look, I'm having a dream that I'm going to rule over you. And he's got the special standing by the father, which I think will adds to the issue of what happened at the end of how the brothers took things into their own hand. But now, the story continues. The brothers go take care of the sheep in a different place. Yaakov sends Yosef to check on them, and he finds them. And as he approaches, the Torah tells us, this is Parak Lamed Zayin Pasuk Yud Ches, chapter 37, verse 18. The brothers saw him from afar. And before he approached them, these three words, in most commentaries will be explained as and they plotted against him to kill him. They, the brothers, plotted against him to kill him. The Sephorno doesn't learn that way. The Sephorno explains it like this, and he shows grammatically how it can work. Vayisnaklu oisai means they considered him, they thought him to be a plotter. Lahamisai, that would go so far that he would kill who? Kill them, or cause them to die. as the Sephornu says, in their minds, Yosef is coming now, and he is looking to make trouble for them. He's coming here to cause them to stumble, possibly cause them to sin, so that their father should be angry at them, so that Hashem should be angry at them. Let me read to you. They considered Yosef a plotter to kill. He was not coming to seek their welfare, but to find some kind of complaint or to cause them to sin. So that their father should punish them or that Hashem should punish them. And that he alone will remain the blessed one of all the sons. Okay, they see him as someone who is out to get them. All right, so they sound like they're paranoid, right? No, listen to what the Sephornu says, and this is really mind-boggling. Idea. This is where the Torah is letting us know how did it come about? The brothers were all tzadikim gemurim, completely righteous. They were without sin. To the point that eventually their names would be before God as a remembrance. This word is talking about the fact that years later, when there would be a Mishkan, the tabernacle, and the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, would wear a breastplate that had 12 precious stones. And each one of those stones was a name of a tribe. 12 stones, one tribe per each stone. And the Torah said, and the purpose of those stones, the Torah says, with the names engraved, was so that when Aaron approached God, he had the names of the tribes on them as a remembrance, as a merit for the Jewish people. How could it be that people so righteous, that their names will be carried before God as a merit for the Jewish people? How could it be that they decided to kill their brother or sell him? And we don't even find that they regretted it. Later on, when Yosef becomes the viceroy and the brothers come down to buy food and they don't know it's Yosef, and Yosef is giving them a very hard time, they say, you know why this is happening to us? We're guilty. We're guilty that when our brother pleaded with us, we didn't have mercy on him. It's very clear that when they're getting a feeling, when having a realization that they did something wrong by Yosef, they don't say we're wrong for selling him. They say we were wrong for not having mercy on him when he pleaded with us. We could have, when he pleaded with us, we could have had mercy on him. We could have given him another chance, but we didn't. That doesn't mean that they were, that means they're not saying we were wrong for selling him. We should have had mercy on him when he pleaded with us. That's what we should have done. We should have had mercy on him when he pleaded with us. So here you have these highly righteous people who their names will be carried before God as a merit for the Jewish people. How could they have done this? And not even, and when they had some kind of regret, they didn't regret the act itself. How could it be? And the answer is, the Torah is showing us that the problem is that because they didn't go ahead and kill Yosef out of jealousy. They considered Yosef a plotter against them to cause them either to die in this world by being punished by either Yaakov or by sinning against God. They should lose their life in this world, or they should lose their life in the world to come, or in both. The Torah says somebody's coming to kill you. Protect yourself. Take care of yourself. So the Sephornu is saying that the brothers, what they did to Yosef, they did it based on the fact that they saw that they considered him trying to destroy them, based on everything he was doing until now with the dreams. they saw Yosef as trying to plot against them. And if you see somebody plotting against you, you protect yourself. Somebody wants to kill you, and you have to protect yourself. The only way is to kill the person trying to kill you. You kill him. You're supposed to do that. You're not supposed to give up your life. You're supposed to kill him if that's what you need to protect yourself. And therefore, says Seforno, this is the understanding of the brothers of what they did. Because they thought Yosef was trying to destroy them, and therefore, someone wants to destroy you, you protect yourself. But this was a mistake, wasn't it? It was a mistake. I mean, their judgment of Yosef was wrong. So how are we supposed to put this all together in the sense that the Seforno says that the brothers were so righteous? How could it be? The answer is that, well, they thought he was trying to destroy them, but they were wrong. So were they paranoid or not? Was this paranoia? You mean paranoia all of a sudden because you become paranoid, then it's okay? When you become paranoid and think that he's trying to kill me, so therefore I have to protect myself, that's good, that's better? That's a way of, that's what the Seforno means. Such righteous people, how could they do it? The answer is they were paranoid. That's not what he's saying. And again, and part of his basis to say they were so righteous was because their name is be brought before God as a remembrance for the Jewish people. You mean if they were paranoid, then they were righteous, so then they still remained righteous enough if they were paranoid that their names will be carried before God? Is that what it means? So I don't think so. The Seforno means to say that basically the brothers made a mistake, but their basis for their mistake was very, very strong. They weren't paranoid. Looking at how Yosef was behaving towards them, they had very strong basis to decide that this is what Yosef was doing. They had so much basis for it that even after they made a mistake, their names are still going to be carried before God as a remembrance for the Jewish people. That means this mistake was on a very, very low level. It's not even considered a sin. Sure, this was not something befitting people of their level. On their level, even this was not befitting, and therefore they were guilty. But because of who they were, on their level of greatness, there's a greater demand of them, and therefore even this slight mistake was something they're responsible for, but not enough that they shouldn't be that their name shouldn't be carried, and that their name shouldn't be carried before God as a remembrance. That's how small this was. That's how much the introduction about what everything that Yosef did was a very, very strong basis for their mistake. So much so that it's not even considered a sin. Their names are carried before God as a merit for the Jewish people before God. That's who they did. They're the ones. That means that even with selling Yosef, their names weren't tarnished. Their names weren't blemished. At the same time, again, for who they were responsible for this mistake, but not at a level that says that they're paranoid or they're just jealous, because their names are carried before God as a remembrance for the Jewish people in the temple, in the Beis HaMikdash. And yes, the Torah describes it by Ikanu, they were jealous, which means the Torah is telling us there was a semblance of jealousy. There was a level of jealousy here. And that's where they went wrong. But that level of jealousy, again, wasn't a level that would say, oh, you were just jealous. No, this is what tainted their ability to get to the absolute truth. But the mistake they made was so small based on what was happening that, again, their names aren't tarnished. their names are carried before God as a remembrance for the Jewish people in the Beis HaMikdash. So what we had, now again, this is not easy to wrap our heads around, even based on what was happening before. Really? Because of the dreams, and he's your brother? Really? And it would seem that they didn't go to their father because they saw Yosef standing. They saw no way to protect themselves other than what they did. And they were not so off base. They were wrong, but their basis for making the mistake was very, very strong, to the point that they are not considered sinners. I keep repeating this. Their names were carried before God as a remembrance for the Jewish people in the Beis HaMikdash. That's why he says, how do we understand what they did? The answer is, they thought he was trying to destroy them. But that's not paranoia. They had such a strong basis for it that even after they made a mistake, their names are still carried as a member for the Jewish people. So Yosef's actions beforehand, based on his immaturity, doesn't mean that he didn't know what he was doing. The brothers knew he was a smart fellow. He knew what he was doing. He knew what he was trying to convey. He wasn't trying to destroy them, that's the truth, but he was conveying some very strong messages to them. And he was doing that intentionally. If he was experienced, if he was more mature, he wouldn't have shared this with his brothers. But he did, and the brothers saw it. And therefore, the brothers considered him someone trying to destroy them, and they had every right to go in and protect themselves. So again, not an easy concept, not an easy approach to fully appreciate. It's difficult, but it's important. It's important to see how the Sefornu, one of the main early commentators on the Torah, looks at this episode. And he tells us, don't look at this episode as just brothers who are jealous, jealousy on steroids, jealousy gotten out of hand. No, that's not what this is. The brothers thought they had a halachic right to do what they were doing. According to Jewish law, according to what was right, they could do what they did. And although they were mistaken, the basis for their mistake was so strong that this is not really even a sin for them. Sure, there was a certain level of jealousy. There was a certain level of responsibility that they carry. And the Torah calls it jealousy for us because we need to learn from here what could happen when you're jealous. For us, when we're really jealous. But the Seforno is making a very strong case to show that the brothers who did what they did, these were highly righteous, holy people. And if they did this, there had to be a basis to it. And it's not just jealousy. It's not just paranoia at all. It's not that. It's at a much, much higher level. Thank you all for listening. Have a wonderful evening.